Hey there, and welcome back to another Hot Cocoa Chats with Katie. This is the second video in this series, and this series is basically I sit in a random corner of my room, hello random corner of my room, drink hot chocolate, and talk about whatever I feel like talking about. But actually today I'm drinking chocolate milk, not hot chocolate, because I don't know, it's not that cold of a January day, so I thought I might as well. If you missed my last video in this series, it was about boundaries that help keep me sane with our adoptive kids, and I think some of it can apply to just any parent, really. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to click the like button, and if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to my channel for more random content like this. Just kidding. My content actually is usually about adoption, parenting, motherhood, all that good stuff. But today's topic is a little more taboo in the parenting world, and today we're going to be talking about going on trips without your kids. And I don't mean just like going a night nearby, like an hour away and just being gone one night. I mean going on actual like longer trips or vacations and not bringing your kids with you. Well, I know there are a lot of parents who would never even consider doing this, or would maybe only do it like once in the time that their kids were growing up. This is actually something that my husband and I have already done once when we only have one child, and something that we hope to make kind of a regular part of our lives. So I want to kind of explain some of our reasons why, and maybe if you're someone who's considering doing this, make you feel a little less guilty, because there's a lot of guilt associated with this. So keep watching if you want to hear some of those reasons. I apologize in advance because this video is going to be extremely random. It's just like stream of consciousness, very chatty. If you're looking for a really organized like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why you should go on trips without your kids, like this is not the video. It's very chatty, so hope you enjoy. So anyway, that's what we're gonna be chatting about today. Thanks for joining me. Pause for a second, go get yourself a little cup of hot chocolate, chocolate milk, tea, whatever you would like, and let's get started. Now, before we completely jump in, I do want to stop and just say thank you so much. I recently reached my 1,000 subscriber point on my channel, which honestly just like blows me away, and I've just been so thankful for all of you who have subscribed, who have continued to watch my videos, and especially those of you who comment. I love talking to people in the comments, or I've had people, you know, message me on Instagram, like DM me, and I just love talking to you guys, and it's so cool to have kind of like faces and personalities behind the people who are watching these videos. And I don't know, it just really inspires me to keep going and make more content for you guys, and just to know what you're going through and the types of topics you want to hear about. I cannot believe my channel has made it this far. I remember when I first started, I would post a video and I would be happy if like 3 days later 15 people had watched it, and even if one of those was me. So thank you so much for helping me get to this point. I love just seeing how the channel has spread and helped other people. To be fair, no one asked me to talk about this topic, but my husband and I are in the process of getting ready to go on a trip. And actually, by the time this video goes up, I think we'll already have been back from our trip. So I just thought I would make this because I was kind of processing through, why do I want to go on a trip without my kids? Why do I think it's something that is even good to do? And so I thought I would just kind of share that with you. So going on a trip without your kids. So last year, my husband and I actually went on a trip that was very controversial to not take your child on, which was we went to Disney World. However, at that time, we only had one kid, our daughter Brielle, who was fresh 2-year-old who was afraid of literally everything. We actually took her to Great Wolf Lodge nearby us, and like for a night one time, because we're like, oh, she's gonna love it. There's like animals, there's like swimming pools. She was terrified of swimming. She was terrified of the animals. Like literally starting that night, she started saying, no animals, every night before bed, like for months and months and months. So clearly she was not quite ready for something like Disney World with a lot of like, you know, animatronics, and then maybe some rides that are even like scary to someone her age. And just like, you know, her impulse control. There were a lot of reasons why we didn't take her, but I felt very, very guilty for not taking her, even though the trip we were going on, we actually went with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, who like, I'm not gonna say that they wouldn't have wanted us to bring her, but I think it would have been a very different trip for them if we had gone with them and brought our daughter. It would not have been the same. We would not have been able to get as much done, or we probably would have had to like split up more from them. So my parents were awesome. They watched our daughter for us, and we only went for like a long weekend. I think we were only in the parks for 3.5 days, and so it wasn't a super long trip. However, I did vlog it. If you want to check out the vlog, you can click above. Anyway, it was an amazing trip, so refreshing, so renewing, and I know some people might think like Disney World is not a relaxing trip, and it's not. It's true, it's not really relaxing, but I think when you're parents and you're used to chasing around a toddler, changing diapers, it definitely felt like a break. And it was something really fun. And I think the hard part for me about being a parent is that life feels very monotonous. It always feels the same. There's never like a break. And so that trip was really, really fun to take. So I will say, I think some people thought it was strange. I was very hesitant to post on social media. I was even hesitant to post like the vlog, although at that point like no one followed me, so it didn't really matter. But I honestly do not regret that trip at all. And I 100% do not regret leaving our daughter at home with my parents, because I think that she was not ready for it. I think it would have been stressful to her. I don't think she would have realized like really how special it was. Like I look forward to taking her in the future when she's older, but that just wasn't the right time. But you can ask my husband. My anxiety was like through the roof before we left, because I was so worried about what people were gonna think about us going. And honestly, I've hit a point now where I just, maybe it's because I'm almost 30, but I just don't care as much what other people think. I'm not gonna say I don't care, because I do, but I just don't care as much as I used to. I think it's kind of like knowing myself and knowing my needs and knowing my kids and knowing what they're capable of and what they need and can handle. And so, yeah. Here's some of our main reasons for wanting to go on a trip without our kids and why we want it to be kind of a regular thing. Like, if it could be a yearly thing, that would be ideal to me, but I realize even financially that might not work, because we do also want to take our kids on trips. So this year we're actually planning a spring break trip to Tennessee, and we're going to stay in a cabin with my parents, and that is a trip that our kids will be going on with us. And I'm really looking forward to that because it's more low-key. We're going to be like staying somewhere. We're not going to have to be going out and about somewhere crazy or to a city or something like that. It's going to be much more relaxed, and like family will be with us. There'll be more people helping out with the kids. And yeah, we're really excited to take that trip with the kids. We actually went to Tennessee with them in the summer as well. When my brother got married, we went to an aquarium. And you know what? Honestly, that was like a big trip for our kids at that time, because they had never really been on a vacation ever, which is another reason why we're trying to kind of ease them into that concept. And because of COVID, we haven't really gone a lot of places with them and just like practiced being out and practiced, you know, like listening to parents, not running off towards other people, or all of those things that are really important for even safety purposes. So needless to say, our kids are pretty far at this point from being ready to go on like a big trip, you know, especially to like another country or even going somewhere like a theme park. A lot of the trips that my husband and I really love to take, more so than just going like to a cabin. However, that's something our kids can handle right now. One of the big reasons that going on trips by ourselves is really important to my husband and I is that we really truly believe that we need to pour into our marriage in order to be the best parents we can be. When you're married, if you are not on the same page as your spouse, if you're just kind of frustrated with them or you haven't gotten the time you need with them, it can be really hard to be patient with your kids and to be fully present with your kids. I also think the other side is true, where sometimes your kids can become your entire life and everything you do revolves around your kids. And you hear these stories of people who have kids when they're younger and they spend their whole like early adulthood raising their kids, and everything they do is about their kids, and they never make time for their spouse. And then when those kids leave, they end up getting divorced because they weren't really connected that whole time. They were doing it for the kids, and then bam, when the kids were gone, they didn't really know what to do with themselves. So for us, it's just a time to like invest in our marriage and spend time with each other and just reconnect in ways that you just can't when there are kids always around, especially if you have adopted kids or foster kids who are still like forming really solid attachments. I know some people might say, well, why would you leave them? Well, you have to realize that when kids don't have a strong attachment to you yet, they're extremely clingy, and they don't know how to take space. So if you never take a break from them, they'll just be hanging on you all the time, and it really can be exhausting and can be a little bit draining on you emotionally. I know for me, if I don't ever feel like I get a break from people in general, I feel so drained. I'm more likely to get angry quickly. I'm more likely to just, you know, say things without thinking. And so those breaks are really important. I think the same goes with taking breaks away with your spouse from your kids. To be clear, I'm not trying to say that like you have to take a trip without your kids to have a good marriage. I realize that's like a very privileged thing to say because you have to have childcare to do that. You have to be married in the first place and not a single parent. All I'm saying is that this is something that we consider to be really important for our marriage. But I know there are tons of people out there who probably think it's terrible to go on a trip without your kids and it can make you feel really guilty. And so I just want to offer a different perspective for those of you who are considering doing that. You know, some of the reasons that people wouldn't want to go on a trip without their kids, one is that sometimes they don't feel like they trust other people with their kids. Usually the people who are like this, they have kids biologically, and I just feel like there's something that happens in you when you have a baby and you just like, you need to be with that baby and you're just afraid to leave the baby with anyone else. And I mean, obviously that's in you biologically to protect your kids. In our situation, other people raised our kids for pretty much their whole lives before they came to us. And so I think there's a little bit more trust there. Like we've just seen how these kids have gone through things and they've been taken care of by different people. And so I definitely feel comfortable leaving them with my parents for a few days because I trust that, you know, they'll be okay. To send them with grandparents, people we trust that we know can take care of them, that is something that we feel comfortable doing. And our kids are also older. Our kids are 10, 6, and 3, so there's no like infant we're leaving behind. I mean, with our 3-year-old, when we left her for Disney, I definitely felt sad when we weren't with her. Some of the times, like we talked to her a lot, like on video chat, but you know, she'd be sad at night. My mom said that was pretty much the only time she was really sad though, was like bedtime, which makes sense. But I would be like, oh, I feel really bad because I miss her. But overall, I mean, she had an amazing time. And when we came back from our trip, she was like happier than ever. So she loved that time with grandparents. And our kids cannot wait to go spend time with my parents. I think it's like grandma and grandpa's house, you know, like less rules, more sweets, all the good stuff. So the kids really, really do enjoy it too. I think another reason why parents don't really like the idea of taking a trip without their kids is it makes them feel like they're being really selfish because, you know, I think American culture tells us a lot. Nick and I have been talking about this a lot recently, but American culture tells you that your kid is like the center of everything. And if your kid is not the center of your life and every single second of your life, then you're a bad parent. You're like neglectful. And I don't really think that's true. I think in some ways American parenting culture has taken away all boundaries that should be there with your kids. And obviously you want to be open and loving and kind with your kids and show them that you care about them and that you want to be with them. But I honestly think that most of the time our kids are the center of attention. Like if we go anywhere, do any activity, we're usually doing it for them and it's all about them, and the whole reason we're there is because of them. And while we're there, they're our entire focus. I mean, even when we're at home, my husband and I can barely have a conversation that is 2 minutes long without being interrupted 5 to 10 times, and I'm not exaggerating. So that's the thing. 90% of the time, that's a very official stat, by the way, 90% of the time, everything we're doing revolves around them. And so this trip is like, you know, only out of 365 days, it's like 5 of those days, we are going to do something that is not about them. Now, they still, I think, get to benefit from it by spending time with grandparents and, you know, getting out of the house, trying something different. But at the same time, I don't think that it's wrong to do that. I think my marriage is important as well. So that is another reason why we really do like to go on these trips and think that it is a good thing. And again, I'm not trying to say that people who don't go on trips without their kids, that they don't care about their marriage or that their marriage is bad. I'm just telling you in our specific situation, and I'm sure other people like you are in the same one, especially if you have adopted or foster kids potentially. You have kids who are just always wanting to be with you and your whole life revolves around them and you just need a break. you know, and I think all parents really need a break. So I just want to say, if you want to take a break, you don't have to take one, but if you want to, you can, and it's okay. And you know what? Sometimes parents feel bad because their kids are going to miss out on cool experiences that they're having if they're not with them. But a lot of times the experiences that you're having, one, your kids could have later down the road with you, and two, like, they have a bunch of experiences you're not going to have. They might go to a camp, they might be in a sport, they might have an activity after school. You're not participating in those. So think of this as like, instead of you doing an activity all through the year, this is your one little time where you get to do your activity, which is going on a little trip for a few days. So I know this has been probably the most random video ever, but I just wanted to say it's okay if you're like me and my husband and you just really feel like you need a break and you have someone who's willing to watch your kids. In our case, my parents actually, for Christmas, one of our presents was that they said they would watch our kids for a few different weekends, so we could get away or just be at home by ourselves. And honestly, it's the best gift they could have given us. Not because we don't love our kids, but just because this has been a very draining, stressful year. And I think it's important for us to get that rest and get that peaceful time. In all honesty, I think the guilt that parents feel about going somewhere without their kids is the main reason why they don't want to go on a trip without their kids. I know for me that was definitely true. I like almost didn't want to go on that Disney trip last year because I was feeling so guilty about leaving my daughter, even though I knew that it wasn't the right trip for her. I hadn't gone on any trips away from her at all yet, and she had been with us for quite a while at that point. I had been struggling for a long time without a break, and I probably needed one. And she had a safe place to stay. Like, all the reasons were like lining up for why it made sense for us to go on this trip and for her not to go on this trip. But I felt so guilty about doing that it almost ruined the trip for me. Thankfully, my husband has this gift of just not caring. No, I shouldn't say that. He does care, but he doesn't care as much about what people think. I'm very worried about how my actions will like come across to other people, and I never want to come across like, oh yeah, I just like jet off all the time without my kids. Like, I just don't really care. I just go on these cool trips and they just stay home. Like, that's just not me. Like, most of my life is surrounded around my kids and taking care of them and doing what they want to do. And I really feel like that trip gave me this like energy and this like, I don't know, just like peace in this weird way that helped me get through a lot of 2020. Now, obviously, I want to be clear, like, I'm a Christian. True peace and contentment comes from God. But I think that rest and taking that time away was really important for me feeling like, I don't know, refreshed enough to come back and be in quarantine with my 3-year-old or my 2-year-old at that point for such a long time. And I really truly enjoyed that time with her. I enjoyed being at home and spending time with her. And I just wonder if that would have been different if I hadn't gotten a chance to go on that trip before all that craziness happened. So that is something I will say. I do not regret it. I think that if you're a parent, obviously you need to know your kid and know what they can handle, know if they would be able to handle you being away for a few days, but I think most kids can. And I honestly, when we came back from that trip, our daughter was in such a better mood than when we left. She was listening better. She was so excited to see us. We had a really sweet time when we got back. And I don't know, I felt really good about the whole thing. Despite the fact that other people may have been judging me, I know for a fact some people were. But overall, most people were really supportive of us going. So that was nice. But I know it did help me to have someone else say, it's okay. You don't need to take your kid on the trip. Go on a little trip by yourselves. It'll be really refreshing for you. So I'm going to tell you that too. So part of the reason, like I said, I'm making this video is because my husband and I are getting ready to go on a trip, and this mug should give you a little hint of what we're going to do. So if you can't see, this is my Marauders map mug from, hopefully you can guess, I solemnly swear I'm up to no good, from Harry Potter World. I have been to Harry Potter World several times. It's actually Universal Studios, but let's be honest, Harry Potter's the part I really care about. I love going there. It's just such a fun vacation for me. And Universal's even more relaxing than Disney to me because it just takes less planning, even though I do love planning trips. So my husband and I are actually going there next week. It's the most spontaneous trip we've ever booked in our lives. We made the decision a little less than a week ago. Like, we came up with the idea and made the decision. This year has been hard for everyone, and it's been especially hard lately for us. There's a lot going on with my husband's family. His dad has pancreatic cancer. We just don't, there's not a lot of answers we have, and we just feel like we can't plan anything long term, and that was getting pretty hopeless feeling to us. Also, you know, we're in the midst of adopting 2 kids into our family, and it's just a lot right now. Things feel heavy. We haven't been able to go anywhere for a long time, and then my parents offered to watch our kids for a couple weekends so we could get away different times throughout the year, and we're taking them up on it already. So when we found out that we could potentially go over this long weekend, we thought, why not? You know, it's so soon, but the prices were good, and my parents were available to watch our kids. I know it's COVID, it's kind of crazy, but I actually feel like I've done a lot of research. I actually feel like it seems very safe there. Most people who have gone said that they felt way safer there than they felt at the grocery store, because they do temperature checks before you come in. You have to put on hand sanitizer before or after every ride. Like, there's a lot of rules. There's like social distancing you have to do. So I feel pretty good about it, and I'm just like so looking forward to doing something really fun with just Nick. Like, just some time where we can actually have conversations. Like, even waiting in line sounds fun to me right now, because I can have a conversation with my husband and not be interrupted 25 times. So we're really looking forward to it. We're excited about our trip. I know there are differing opinions, like I said, about not taking your kid on a trip, and especially not taking your kid on a trip to an amusement park, like a theme park. But we did it before, and I knew it was the right decision then, and I also know it's the right decision now. So we are really looking forward to it, and I'm really trying hard not to feel guilty about it. I do not feel nearly as guilty as I did last time, because I think because I went through that and I experienced just how great of a trip it was and how well our daughter handled it. And so that is, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So I want to leave with this. If you are considering going on a trip without your kids, whether you're a single parent and you want to go on a trip with some friends, or if you're married and you want to go on a trip with your spouse and you're just not doing it because you feel guilty, I just want to tell you, maybe you're like me and you need someone to just tell you, you don't need to feel guilty. It's okay. You might need a break, and if you have people who are willing to watch your kids, why not? Anyway, thank you for following along with what I think is the most disjointed, rambly, random video ever. I promise that the rest of these hot cocoa chats with Katie will be a little bit more organized than this one. This was very spontaneous, as was the trip that we're going to go on. Anyway, I'm curious. Tell me in the comments, have you ever gone on a trip without your kids, or would you ever consider going on a trip without your kids? I'd love to hear some of your reasons for why, or maybe your reasons for why not. But yeah, thanks so much for following along. As always, if you enjoy the video, hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe as well. I will also be vlogging our trip to Universal, and I'm really excited about it. So we're actually going to be staying in the brand new resort. It's called Endless Summer Dockside Inn and Suites. So we're staying, it's like literally opened in December, and it's currently January. So we are going to be staying there only like a month after it opened. I'm really excited to see it. I'll probably do like a little room tour, and then I'll take you along our 4 days. So it's about 3.5 days in the park. Again, kind of like when we went to Disney. So if you love Harry Potter, follow along, because I'll be in Harry Potter World a lot. So hopefully you are, like me, almost done with your hot chocolate or beverage of choice. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you later.